Hi there, my name's Ben and I like to read. Today we're going to be reviewing a book by Richard Adams, a classic of children's literature, Watership Down. This book is about a group of rabbits led by Hazel, who, upon hearing of his brother Fiver's prophetic dream that their home, the warren in which they live in, is going to be destroyed, leads a smaller group, a ragtag bunch, if you will, of rabbits across the English countryside to settle into a new warren. Once they get to their new warren, after dealing with trials and tribulations, they find that there is another group of rabbits led by General Woundwort, who runs a tyrannical warren that, essentially keeps all the female rabbits as slaves and prioritizes big and strong rabbits for a military force. It's right near a farm. Eventually, this book culminates into a titanic showdown between Hazel's warren and General Woundwort's warren, and the story goes from there. Now, a little bit of background about the author. Richard Adams was a civil servant in the UK, and this book initially started off as a bedtime story that he would tell to his children, his two daughters, and they enjoyed it so much, they said, "Dad, you should really make a book out of it." And he said, "I'll think about it." But then over the course of a couple of years, he said, "You know what? Okay, let's do it." So I was working with the civil service and writing this on the side. Of course, when this was published in the 60s, it was an immediate hit. Although some people were concerned that it was marketed as a children's book due to, one, the length, two, there's an incredible amount of violence in it. So much so that there was one critic who was a vociferous defender of the book who said that if Watership Down cannot be considered children's literature, then literature itself is over as we know it. Now, I'm paraphrasing that a tad, but such was the critical response to this book that this is important, to say the least. Now, this book is long, I'm not going to lie. It's almost 500 pages. It's about 470 pages, give and take. It does a great job of weaving the fantastical, of course, it's talking rabbits, with the real world, but also there's certain narrative devices that Adams employs. So there's a whole mythology that the rabbits have. They have their trickster god, Elarara, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. And there are, of course, little sequences, breaks in the action where, let's say, they're resting for the night and someone tells the story of their trickster god, the first rabbit. And it's fun. It gives such an authenticity. You can really believe that, there might be these rabbits out there who have this kind of culture. It's been championed by, some environmental activists. It's like, this is why we can't have rabbit hunting and whatever. I'm not going to talk about that. I think that there are some people who have problems with us, anthropomorphizing animals. I don't think that should be a problem. I think that, again, it allows our imagination to play, and play is very important. But not only that, it also allows for an unbelievable opportunity to create a beautiful piece of literature. The writing is fantastic. Adams even develops an own language and culture for the rabbits. On top of the god Elarara, there's a whole system of how their society is structured, and you can tell that he put a lot of effort. It's a true labor of love, this book, and I think it's only fitting that it should be called a children's book. I think that I myself, as someone who didn't read it as a child, as someone who read it as an adult, it makes for great reading as an adult. But if I was to read this story as a kid, this would be great. I think what a story to go to bed with. Now, people may argue that there's There's no what's the best way to put it? That it could be too long. It's too much of an adult children's book, but I don't think that's the case. I think that children are people too. We need to treat them with a certain amount of respect, in the sense of we have to respect their intelligence, we have to respect their perspectives, we have to respect their imagination as well. And I think that this book allows children to run wild with their own interpretation with it, which is what they're meant to do. They're meant to discover the world. And I think that, like I said, if I was read this as a kid, I would be stoked. This would be great. And even as an adult, as I've read this, fantastic book. I will say that, the length may be off-putting for some. Yeah, it's around like 470 pages. The language, beautifully written. The lore is fantastic. It's an overall, there's a reason why it's a classic. It is a solid book. Don't skip out on it. Do not sleep on it. Ship it if you can. I think that everyone should enjoy this. Now, that being said, I think that if you can't get over the fact that it's rabbits, okay, then I can see that as a potential point for for you not enjoying this book. If you're not a fan of the length, I get that too. There is a lot of the lore that, again, does require some, let's pause the book, let's go read the notes. But Adams does do a good job of providing you that information as well, within the subtext. Yeah, honestly, my opinion, don't skip out on this one. Really, really solid book. It's a fun book. It's smart. It's, as the Sunday Times put it, it's stunning and it's compulsive. And I think that everyone would be for the better reading this, and I think more kids should be read this book. But anyway, give it a read. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.